Alright. Looks like I got everything on there. Hello, hello, hello. This is my first stream ever. I have no idea if this is working or not, if this is working the way I want it to. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I don't think anyone else is here. It's just me. I can look at participants here, and I see it's just me. I understand this is the first time we're doing a stream, but if we're gonna keep doing this, hopefully we can make sure participation is up, because I'm doing this for you guys. But no worries. Today, fortunately, what I think YouTube does is they record the stream. So everything I'm talking about today will be recorded. I'm going to put it on a YouTube video and I'll send it to you guys. So this is how I'm going to get started. I'm just going to go over the code for our next container. If you remember, we've already went over app.js and we went over login.jsx. Now we're just going to go over home. I'm going to keep this short and sweet just because we're trying this out. I don't know if this is working or not. And if any of you guys do show up and you have any questions, I'll check the chat here and I'll answer them. So anyways, home.jsx. If you guys don't know where home.jsx is, this is the page that is rendered right after you sign in. So this is me signing into my Duke account. Just give it a second here. And you can guess by the name of it, home.jsx is the home page. And just as a quick refresher, each container, speaking about React container, each React container represents a certain page in the app. So as you can see here, home is the name of the page here, and that is also the name of the container component. So what we're looking at here is we see this line monitor announcement widget here, this weather widget here, a countdown to Duke versus UNC. Obviously the time has expired since the game has now passed. Upcoming game widget, tweet widgets, and then a feedback form widget. That's basically just it. Anyways, so let's go ahead and get started and looking at the code and see how each line runs. And I'll go over the stuff that's necessary for us. So for example, if any Redux code shows up, I'll skip over it because we'll come back to Redux stuff at a later time. So here we go. Line 1. As we all know, importing React components, that's the same thing, same old, same old. These next two lines is just simply for connecting our component to the Redux store. You don't need to go over that now. And then this imports the Redux actions. Again, we don't need to go over that. Just a quick thing to say about Redux actions. Redux actions are just quick functions that are ran during certain actions or interactions with the page that loads certain data to the Redux store, or to the React component, excuse me. So yeah, that's all that is there. This right here is another container called navbar. Navbar is simply this portion here. Every single page will have the navbar running. I don't know if you remember this, but the only reason why navbar is considered a container is because it is connected to the Redux page. But like I said before, if you don't recall in the previous workshops, if I had to do this again, navbar would actually just be another component, not a container, because it's not a page. It doesn't necessarily need to import Redux stuff directly. This was just, I'll be honest, maybe it was a little bit of laziness from the time I was writing the code originally, but I don't know. This was something I wrote 2 years ago, so I can't really exactly explain why I did that. But that's not a problem. We're importing this navbar component at this line here. The next three lines here are importing different components: availability message, home body, and sign up. So what does avail message do? Let's see here. It's been a while since I looked at it. Avail message, availabilities. Oh, okay, this is very simple. This component is very simple. We'll take a look at this in a second. Home body, that's pretty much everything that you see in the entire body of the home page. Almost all the containers are organized like this, where they have a component specifically just to hold the body, or pretty much everything underneath the navbar. And then sign up, this is a component. So sign up used to be a page originally before we implemented Duke OAuth. Now sign up is its own component, and it became an overlay over the home page. So whenever someone signs in for the first time and that's checked, this component is run, or this component is rendered, excuse me, and it goes through the process of signing up. That may be just an entire separate video in and of itself. We'll see how much time we have. 6:04 right now. I would prefer that we don't go past 6:30 or 30 minutes long for this video. This right here is a utility function. This is for our one signal notifications. I won't go into depth for that, but if you want to in your free time, go ahead and take a look into the code. Basically everything that's dealing with one signal is this right here, and what's happening there basically is just signing up a person's either desktop or laptop or whatever browser that they're using for notifications via one signal. So if you don't remember, one signal is our third-party application that we use to do notifications with. I don't need to go into too much depth for that, but just know that's something separate of what we're looking at right now. I can go into depth if you guys want to for another time, but this is the only time you will see one signal code in any of our React front end. That's just because we needed to add this because there's a front end component, you know, the little pop-up where it asks you, do you want a notification or not? That's just letting this render. That's all that is. So everything in component did mount is one signal related. And speaking of component did mount, just a reminder of what component did mount does. It just is a function, a pre-written function from the component class, a pre-written function that runs before the actual home component gets rendered. So if you want to do anything right before the page fully renders, like for example make an API call or register someone for one signal notifications, that's when you do it. Component did mount. And you can read more about it in the React documentation. Just literally Google React component did mount. In fact, I'll just show it here since you're seeing my screen. React component did mount. Will mount is actually discontinued. Don't ever use will mount. And just come here, and this will explain all the functions within React.component, including component did mount. And we use component did mount a lot, so if you want to see different examples of it, you can look in our code, you can read their documentation, or you can ask me when's the best time to use it, and I'll be willing to answer that question. Actually, let me see if anybody's in here. Is it still just me? It's still just me. How sad. No worries. You guys will all see this, hopefully. But nonetheless, here we go. All right, we're beginning the render function. As you can see here, we have different props. All these props that we see here actually are related to Redux. These are states from the Redux store, and these are actions that we can even see up here. So like get all teams, get all shifts, and get posts. If you're asking why this is in your props, again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but the reason why this is in your props is because of this here. Map dispatch the props, where it calls those functions and they get injected into your React component. And there's a lot of good tutorials on Redux, so if you don't want to wait for me for you to explain it, a really good tutorial. Literally look up React Redux. There's a gentleman by the name of Traversy Media. Look, I even watched this video, so check that video out. I know it's an hour long. You can skip through parts that you feel like you understand, or you can speed it up. It's great to learn. I obviously watched this video when I was learning this stuff. It's 2 years old, so it's still relevant. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyways, just know that the user stores information pertaining to the user. So you can see here user.data, user.data.team. That's just because it's just checking if that data exists. So I first check user.data to first check if user.data isn't empty, and then I say and user.data.team ID to check if the team ID actually exists within the user's data. And why I check that is because if a user has a team ID, that means they've already signed up. If not, they haven't. So there's this big ternary operator here, if you can't tell, and the conditional is here. And if you don't know how a ternary operator looks like, again, I'm going to look this up for you guys. Ternary operator in JavaScript, conditional operator, ternary operator. Basically, you just have a true-false statement here, and you have this question mark, and if it's true, it'll return that. If it's false, it will return that. So essentially what's happening is if this statement, this conditional is true, then everything from here to here renders. Otherwise, everything from here to here renders. That makes sense? Awesome. All right, so as you can see here, this is going to render whenever someone's already signed up. So in this case, I've already signed up, so it's this page here, and you can tell because it has the nav bar and then also has the home body, whereas this one just has sign up. All right, so you can see here nav bar, all the components here. Boom. It's very easy to understand. So nav bar, that's pretty self-explanatory what's in there. We can take a look right now. Nav bar just literally has a render function where it's a menu item from semantic UI, and literally it just has each button as an item. So you can see home, and then an icon, and then dashboard, and then an icon, and then every time you click it, it goes through this function called handle click, and handle click will, based on which button you click, will take you to certain URLs. So you can see this .push/app/availability if you click a button called availability. And as you can see here, each button has a name associated with it. Let me see. Oh, it's not the name, but rather the name within the item. So yeah. Honestly, if I were to go back and do this, rather than looking at data at children, I'd look at the children's IDs, because the problem with saying children, one, you can have anything in here, and I don't know. I just prefer it to be IDs, but again, this is something I wrote 2 years ago, so my concept of what is good coding versus now versus then has changed, obviously, so no big deal. All right, next. Avail message. This is something that we recently added. It's a really simple thing. All it is just checking if it's passing in this thing, prop called availabilities, but basically what it is, it's taking the user component, taking its data and looking at all its availabilities, and all it does here is, let's take a look at where it's located. It's in components, availability, avail message. So components, availability, avail message. And all it is this will show up a warning sign if the availability's length is not more than 0. So basically, if your availability is empty, then you'll see a message saying, "Hey, please fill in your availability so your team can know when you can tent." That's all it is. It's just a simple pop-up, not a big deal. Home body. Home body is where all of the widgets are held. So let's take a look where that's being held up. Components, home, home body. So that makes sense. Go to components, home, home body. And let's look at the index here, and literally it's just a big grid, and each column or row holds a widget, and all the widgets are here. So there's the Twitter timeline, Kville weather, line monitor post, countdown timer, feedback form, upcoming game. If you want to look at the specifics for that code, go ahead and go to the widgets here, because all the widgets are held in this file here, but they're pretty self-explanatory. I guess the most complicated ones would either be this one or this one. So we'll take a look at that real quick. So let's go at the line monitor posts, and literally all it does is, let's see, let me look at the important stuff here. Post.map, I want to see where post is happening. So render is here. There's an accordion, component, which is a semantic UI component. It's not something that we written. So you can look here at accordion. And if you want to know what that looks like, again, go to react.semantic-ui.com. That's where all of our documentation for our front end stuff happens. And we go to accordion here, and it's just this stuff here, right? And if that looks familiar, that's because that's this here. So everything's sitting in an accordion, right? And then all the panels is this here, root panel. So you got panel main, line monitor announcements, and then the content is everything that gets outputted from render content, which is up here. So render content, which is expecting posts, and rendered posts will just be this here. So either it'll take this recent state, or it will this recent state is just checking this here, whether or not you're looking for recent or all, all just shows every single line monitor announcement that's ever existed. Since just looking at the last 5, how important that is. We thought that was very important when we first added it. Obviously, I don't think anyone really uses that. Basically, it just takes post data, which runs this function here, and all this does is it takes the post, which is a prop, and let's take a look if it's passed down. So line monitor post, go to index here, line monitor post is here, post is this right here, it's a prop as well, and I'm guessing this is getting passed down from home then. So home body post, and post I guess is okay, it's another Redux state, so don't worry too much about that. And I'm guessing it has to be, where is it being called? I'm guessing where's get post called? Is it ever called? It's called in home body. Okay, yeah, so when the home body is rendered, it gets all the posts, and that makes sense because this home page can either be this or sign up, and you don't want to make get post requests when this is being rendered. That's making unnecessary get requests. So yeah, so basically home body is just all of these widgets here. Line monitor post is the only one that's really not even really complicated, but it's the only one that requires like using an API that we've written and Redux stuff. But everything else, as you can see, has no props, because it's literally just using, either it's just simple text, so like the feedback form is just simple text, because you can see here it's literally just buttons and text, and the buttons just are links to Google Forms. Right? Line monitor Twitter timeline, we're just using a Node.js component, a React component from some npm package that literally pulls Twitter timelines for you, and all you have to do is give it the Twitter @ and boom, it just renders that for you. And the countdown timer is literally just, hey, you give it a date and then it shows something up here, and it's another npm package. Again, you can look at this stuff, it's very simple. And upcoming game actually may be a little complicated because I had to use some obscure stuff. So I actually found out, so ESPN doesn't have an open API, but I found someone that I was a Salesforce intern with that found like a endpoint that ESPN did not cover up securely, and we're just taking advantage of that, where it will give certain pieces of data for an upcoming NCAA basketball game, but it doesn't give us too much information besides the next game. So we that's why our widget's only like our next game rather than like a list of multiple games. Obviously, if we wanted more data, we'd have to use paid APIs, and it's not worth that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the homepage, and we're about to get to 20 minutes here, so I'm gonna go ahead and check if there are any questions or any participants. Again, no participants. How sad. But again, this is the first stream. I'm new to this. You guys are new to this. If I didn't answer anything, if anything wasn't clear, let me know. If you still have any questions about anything I showed here, again, let me know. And yeah, I think that should be it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this stream off. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys later.